Because we don't understand how life formed, it is difficult to estimate this probability. The likelihood of a complex molecule like DNA being created by random collisions of atoms in a primordial ocean is fantastically small. In an infinite universe, it would happen in some places, but they would be very far apart. If we want to find advanced intelligent life, our best bet is to listen for radio signals.
Look up to the stars and the forest that surround. Do you see them? Do you hear them? Are they there? SpacedOutRadio.com presents S4 with Forest Moon Paranormal's Eric Cooper and friends. Also, take the time to join the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook group.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Conspiracy, Area 51, Dogman, Ghosts, Cover-Ups, UFOs. The hidden will reveal itself.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go live on S4 with Eric Cooper.
All right, good evening, S4ians, and welcome from the mountains of concrete, Washington. Always good to have you here. So, the opinions and views of S4 do not reflect that of Spaced Out Radio. We are our own show, our own views. And if you haven't heard of Spaced Out Radio, www.spacedoutradio.com, every night from 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to midnight, with Dave Scott and James Tyson. Don't miss it. It's the best in paranormal radio and supernatural radio and conspiratorial radio. So, how's everyone doing tonight? How you doing, Corey? Tonight we got Corey Ruiz again with us. As usual, my additional co-host up here in concrete as well, my right-hand man of Forest Moon Paranormal. And if you haven't heard of Forest Moon Paranormal, we are an emergency crisis management team. We handle everything on a crisis level. Emergency responders with paranormal, essentially. So how you doing, Corey?
Doing good this evening. How is everything at the homestead?
Everything is great, other than having people come up my road at 10 o'clock at night and watching for the sheriff. If you're local to Skagit County or Washington State and wish to travel, we do have training every second Saturday of the month, which May 13th is our next training. It'll be at Grandy Lake Campground. We are doing wilderness survival and first aid. May 12th at 11 a.m., which is the second Friday of the month, we have paranormal public discussion at the Lone Star Restaurant here in Concrete, Washington. home of Forest Moon Paranormal and home of the Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. Don't miss it. September 23rd is the Paracon. So tonight, we are going to discuss UFOs. Are they on the rise? So, if you've been listening to our show, we're almost a year old now. How you doing? So we got Joe Monk, the expert of pointy sticks, Andy O'Brien, our Aussie mate, Christopher Fisher, and I'm glad Christopher's here because we're going to talk Black Swan, not on the radio, but if you ever heard of the Order of the Black Swan, if you're listening to us from Italy, I definitely want to talk to you because I want to know more about this Order of the Black Swan, and we'll get into that on another show, actually. But if you've been listening to our show, or go back and listen to the archives where we talk about alien races, we actually talk about the window of 2017 to 2022. And there's supposed to be a rise in UFO sightings. And according to MUFON and NUFORC, which is the National UFO Reporting Center, there has indeed been a rise in UFO sightings. Now the question is, are they on the rise because more people are reporting? More people are getting comfortable about coming out and talking about them? Or is there actually more UFOs in our skies? Are there more alien races that are visiting? I'm inclined to say yeah, just based on the research I've done. But let's look at some facts. What do you think, Corey?
It does seem to be that there is a bit more activity going on. Sorry, I had my mute button on there, but I mean, even as far as I can think back, when I was a kid, I saw pretty much like one UFO up over Mount Baker, and I really hadn't seen anything myself since then. And just since that time, I have, as we know, some of the recent events that have gone on, seen activity that I would say you couldn't explain away with natural causes that have gone on in the skies. And it's that seems to be going on more and more. There's a lot more of the what they call the trumpet noises, which is more like a hum or a buzz, really, that have happened in recent times. Who knows? I mean, but it sure does seem like there's a lot more activity.
I agree, and even here upriver, I've heard of more lights in the sky, and I mean we've got the one landing case that I haven't confirmed or denied. I haven't actually been into that field. There was another case that we were checking out in the same area involving the orbs that were bouncing down the road. Now, there's supposed to have been lights that were in that field, too, which we haven't gone out there. I need the right equipment, for one. I'd like to get some actual old-school radiation detection equipment to go out for that particular situation. Now, I've had 3 UFO sightings in my life. 2 of them were in Germany. One was a giant orange orb that was hovering over Bad Windsheim, Germany. And I could see the full moon on one side of the Autobahn, and I saw this bright orange basketball looking the same size as the full moon. And it hovered there for 10 minutes. Now, what's exciting to me, and what's unique about this situation, is if you've seen the Nuremberg from the 1800s, I believe it was, the Nuremberg battle. Nuremberg is only 20 minutes from Bad Windsheim. So you're talking a very highly active area of Germany. And the exact same, and I'm learning a lot more about these pictures, but the exact same images, I think it was 100 years prior in Basel, Switzerland. And according to Dante Centauri's research, these are the Mater. The Mater and the Anunnaki, or Anakim, were actually at war. And that is supposed to be what they saw in the skies. Which is cool. Because, again, it validates a lot of his work. If you look at those carvings. Now, my second sighting was I can't remember exactly if it was a year later or if it was in the same area. But I actually went on my balcony. I had the kind of impression to go out and go on my balcony, and I saw this, what appeared to be a star, blinking, and it was stationary. And so I took a flashlight out and I blinked this flashlight at it, and it shot down to about airline level, about the level of what an airline would be. And it hovered there. And it hovered there for about 5-10 minutes. And I didn't get any, I know people are going to ask, but I didn't get any telepathic messages or, anything like that, like you'd get from a UFO sighting sometimes. But it hovered there for about 5-10 minutes. And then it shot back up to its original location. My third UFO sighting, I was in Iraq, and it was a triangular shaped craft. It had blue, green lights on it, and it made no noise, and it was going over Syria, from Iraq into Syria. Now, it could have been an experimental craft. That's true. Not denying that. But the thing about UFOs and aliens is they are drawn to war. So it could have been one of ours. It could have been another government's that was experimental. And it could have been just flying over. It could have been a drone. But the thing that makes it unique is I ran a pagan group while I was in Iraq. And two of my pagan soldiers happened to be, one was an aircraft mechanic. The other was a crew chief on a helicopter. And they both saw it. And they said, nope, it's not conventional. It's not one of ours. Light pattern's not right. So that confirms to me that it was indeed a UFO. So tonight we are going to talk about types of craft based on the Alien Races book and some other material. Who flies what? We're not going to go into the whys because that'll be next week. Next week we're actually going to dig into abductions. Abductions are really close to me because I've been working with abductees since 1994. So I do like to hit abductions every now and then because they also seem to be on the rise. And here's my pet peeve. I always have to rant when we do S4. But so you've got paranormal teams, and you've got thousands of them ever since the invention of paranormal TV. And most of them, you say paranormal, they just think hauntings, spirits, ghosts. They don't think about the UFO side. On the other end of that stick, you've got the ufologists that argue and say, oh, UFOs are there. No, it's its own field. It's not paranormal. It is. It very much is. And you've got alien abductees that are just as terrified, if not more, in my opinion, as someone that's being haunted or someone that's being pushed or scratched by a spirit. The difference is my team can remove a spirit. We can't stop an alien abduction. So with abductees, I'll get to your comment here in a second, Joe. So with abductees, you actually start the healing process and calm them down a little bit once they know that they aren't alone, that they aren't crazy. And the other thing we're working on is getting peer support counseling or group sessions where abductees can sit and talk about their experiences under complete confidentiality and with with someone that can relate. So who won the war? Nobody's won the war, Joe, because the Anakin and the Mater and the Velash are still at war today, which is one reason you're seeing more lights in the sky today, as well as new races that are coming down checking out our planet. So you got anything to interject, Corey?
Not too much. I was just kind of sitting here doing a little bit of trying to do a little research because I didn't have much time earlier today, and yesterday I had to work, so that didn't pan out as well as I'd like.
Right.
But I was just trying to get a look, because I've been I've been listening to some other stuff going on, and you know, the black triangles are always one that seems to be seen a lot, and apparently, from a couple of reports that I've heard of, they've changed a bit, and you know, I guess that would be a pretty natural thing to think of when you think of it. You know, I mean, look how much we change our aircraft as we've gone along in history. But apparently they've changed a little bit in the shape of how they are. I think one of the last ones said that the corners on them were a little bit more, more sharp pointed. Was it more rounded? And then one of them had a almost like a harpoon thing. It looked like off at the end of it. So.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, my problem with triangles, some of them are alien, but the TR-3B, the government plays with triangular shaped craft as well. So what's the difference? I don't think we can completely cloak our craft yet. Aliens can. I'm thinking here.
Maneuverability.
Right. The Anakin fly triangular shaped craft. Their craft also are pyramid shaped, as in they go up. There's no other race that I'm aware of. I know there has to be other races that fly triangles, but I know for sure the Anakin are the triangular craft. So something that's come up of late, because I was reading the reports tonight, and there's been 2 or 3 different sightings of chemtrails, where originally they saw a disc, and it shifted into a jetliner or a conventional airplane. Now, a couple nights ago, I watched one of the videos where the Mater and the Velash are spraying chemtrails, and the Anakin are actually spraying counter chemtrails to counter what the Mater are spraying. So yeah, and okay, so Andy's saying in chat, when you look at places like Skinwalker Ranch, seems to be a portal. You get ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, etc. Yeah, and what I want to look at too, when we get the right technology, is to look at ley lines and see if some of those places are at actual ley line crossed areas. So some numbers. The number, which has been rising since the 80s, hit an all-time high in 2010 with about 45,000 yearly sightings. Sightings between 1990 and 2000 rose dramatically by nearly 30,000 yearly sightings. The data also shows that the USA has the most sightings by far, almost 300 times greater than the global median. So why would that be? Why do we think the USA has more sightings?
Good reason for that is because we're probably still considered the top world power. You're going to want to go to where the power is, especially if you're trying to get in control of things.
Thing is, our government is more secretive, is the most secretive. Most of these other governments are coming out actually talking about their UFO programs. Right, identification of UFOs, and yes, UFOs are here. The United States is probably, even Russia came out and admitted that there's UFOs.
Well, and that may also be another part of it too. I mean, if you're trying to keep what you're doing under wraps to some extent, and this may have a lot to do more with some of the more malevolent races. You know, if you're trying to keep your stuff on a hush-hush, you're going to want to go with someone who's, well, not going to tell anybody or doesn't want to let anybody know.
Right. Now, what's interesting is the shape of the UFOs is actually the original flying saucer, which was coined by Arnold Palmer in 1947, has actually taken second place. I believe the triangle is in first place at this point for the most popular shaped craft. Which is either a jump in technology in the on the
I've
extraterrestrial.
also heard a lot.
Say again?
I've also heard a lot about the cigar-shaped crafts.
They're not as common though. I mean, they're still being seen, but they're not as common as they used to be. I believe the cigar-shaped craft was real common in the 70s and 80s. You still see them occasionally on reports today. So according to official
Well,
studies,
it is possible that cigar-shaped crafts, since they are a larger one,
it could be.
since they're a larger craft, they may also be more of a mothership type craft.
Okay, so Trippin's asking, but what friggin' powers do humans have that they want except for poking and probing? Why travel light years to come here? We're not gonna answer that tonight. We'll answer that next week when we talk about the abduction side. What I will say, most of them aren't traveling light years to come here. There's a couple races that actually use the wormhole technology. The Mater being one of them, I believe. I'll have to look it up again. And yeah, Joe's saying Earth's the only planet with beer. I'm sure we got Jupiter rock and we got Mars ale and whatnot. So UFO sightings seem to have become fairly common among the American population, especially in the last few decades. Around 2,500 UFO sightings are reported per 10 million people, which is considerably higher when compared to any other region in the world. Now, the state with the highest sightings is California. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But in California, you've got a race called the Rogue, which actually have bases under the ocean. And they were the reason for the LA battleship, the LA raid. There we go. Back in the 1950s, I think it was. Yeah, you took it, Joe. California is number one for UFO sightings. So let me get to some. So MUFON, so far, MUFON's had 487 sighting reports in March of this year alone. And that's a breakdown with the United States had 328, Canada had 33, the UK had 24, Australia had 13, Brazil had 6, Iran had 6, India had 5, Mexico had 5. That's just from MUFON. The National UFO Reporting Center had 319 reports. Now, some of those are crossed over. As far as some of those reports, they go to both the organizations, not all of them. So you're talking out of 487 reports that MUFON had, how many of them weren't reported? I've never reported the 3 I had. And I know most people don't report what they see. Occasionally you do. Obviously, you had 487, but
Well, other than talking about it here, I've never reported any of it.
no, and most people don't. So I'm scrolling here. Germany had 3. Peru had 3. I want to get to by state. So California, and this is going by just March. California had 41 reports. Florida is second with 27. Texas is third with 26. You got New York with 19, Georgia with 16, Arizona with 16, Pennsylvania with 13, New Jersey had 10, Washington State had 10, New Mexico had 9, Michigan had 8, Virginia had 8, Minnesota had 8, Illinois had 7, Oregon had 6, Ohio had 6, North Carolina had 6, Maryland had 5, Nevada had 5, Tennessee had 5, Alabama had 4, and it goes down. I'm not going to read them all. So now the most common reported shapes. 73 of these reports were spheres. 52 of them were circles. I've had the sphere. The star-like was 38. Other was 37. Disk was 37. I'm really not sure what to mean by not applicable. 36. Triangle was 33. Unknowns were 33. Ovals were 18. Saturn-like, now that's an interesting one, 16. Cylinders were 16. Squares were 13. Diamond was 11. Egg was 11. Boomerang, now that's a craft you don't hear much about. That was 11. There were 11 fireballs, 9 cigars, 6 were bullet or missile, 4 were flashes, 4 were teardrops, 3 were blimp, 3 were dumbbell, 2 were chevron, and 1 was a cone. Okay, so Trippin's asking, plead a fifth for Florida. Aren't most sightings still by bases and possible government buildings? Not really. We're up in the mountains. Now I can guarantee most people up here don't report them. And so per capita, okay, and Joe's saying Phoenix Lights was a boomerang. It was a boomerang, but it morphed because some of the reportees were talking about a boomerang, and then it morphed into a triangle because some of them were actually talking triangle shape. And there was 2 different sets of reports because the Phoenix Lights, I believe, happened for like an hour. And if I remember right, it started out as a boomerang, and then it actually turned out later more of a triangular shape. And yeah, and we're sitting here looking at the chat. Yeah, all of our guys that are in chat, none of them have reported their sighting, and I think that's common because one is time. Some people just don't take the time to report them because, oh, cool, UFO, whatever. The other ones are afraid of ridicule. So there's a race called the Kalinia. They fly a teardrop shape. Teardrop shape is also flown by a race called the Messengers. The orbs, I believe all of them fly because orbs actually morph into other stuff. Seems to be all of them, as well as ships can morph, but also known as a race called the Rogue. The Rogue flies the orb. And they are off the coast of Italy and California, also France and Germany. The black orbs are reptilian. The race called Eric, their ships emit a bright orange light. The AFM ships are small and spherical, and the race Strom ships are octagon shaped. That's what I have as far as some of the craft.
Now, the cigar-shaped ones, I think, were Palladian, and then I saw another one somewhere where someone reported that Grays were also flying cigar-shaped ones.
And yeah, and you know, that's very possible. I'm trying to remember what's the name of that farm?
Which
South.
farm?
Oh, there's a farm south of us that actually, I think his name is James, where they actually, it's in Trout Lake, Washington, and they actually go out and telepathically bring craft down and whatnot. I can't remember the name of the place. But they're always
I remember
talking.
Seth saying something about that.
Yeah, no, it's not Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch is in Utah, Joe. Yeah, James Gillian. There you go. It's the James Gillian Ranch. And they actually have a race that looks like cats. It's a feline race. And then, of course, they have the Pleiadians that come down. So we're going to talk about some cases.
James Gilliland.
Yeah, James Gillian. And they actually have, in fact, Pacific North Weird actually went there with, and did a show on that. And
It's also called the East Seti Ranch.
That sounds right too. So, starting from the beginning of the year, and I just hit Idaho, Washington, Oregon, because they're in our airspace around here. Then I also hit Australia and Canada. So the reports so far from 2017, we had an Idaho boomerang in Pocatello, January 26th. And like you said, it was near an air base. This one was. U.S. Air Force Air Traffic Control Certification. That is next to Mountain Home Air Force Base. The witness was an air traffic controller at Mountain Home Air Force Base from 1973 through 76 and saw numerous UFOs but knew it was a waste of time to report them. So there you go. You have a lot of people that, why report it? It's not going to go anywhere. The government's still going to keep it covered. And so why report it? He had no desire to go to the base hospital and enter into a conversation as to whether he loved his mother. And yeah, you report a UFO, they automatically think you're crazy. So Andy, I have a whole report on Skinwalker Ranch, and there's actually, yeah, the report for Skinwalker Ranch is in the Forest Moon Paranormal's library, and Jesse Ventura also did a show on it. You're right, but we have a report that was done up on Skinwalker. And Joe's asking who flies the reverse Oreo UFO, silver on top, black in the middle, silver on bottom. Yeah, that's yeah, you didn't poke it with a pointy stick. We need pointy arrows. There we go. So in addition,
Lots of pointy arrows.
All arrows are pointy, but we got to get Joe's pointing arrows. So in addition, casual conversation with pilots of the F-111
Yes.
tactical fighter bomber indicated they too had witnessed the same. So when you get, fighter pilots that are witnessing UFOs, that's an issue. And then, of course, fighter pilots are going to have a security clearance that they don't want to be taken away. I mean, they took my clearance away for having PTSD. Imagine having a top secret clearance, flying a fighter jet, and reporting a UFO. What would happen to them? So the witness identified with a previously reported sighting of a UFO that was hovering over the runway at Mountain Home Air Force Base in '77. The veteran provided documentation that he was an air traffic controller at the Air Force Base. The document lists his certification as controller. The second document provides his FAA certification and shows he was at Mountain Home Air Force Base. So he's verified. So Oregon had an orb, Grants Pass. A series of images were captured above the pass, changing shape and colors on March 1st. In Wilsonville, Oregon, the witness never physically saw it as their son and then were having lunch at a teriyaki place on February 12, 2017. They took some pictures and did not notice the picture until weeks later when they were deleting some of the pictures in their phone. First, he thought it was a drone from Fry's, maybe a street light or a ceramic from high voltage power lines. Never saw it. Took a picture of their shoe in the upper left corner. Phone deleted all the pictures they had on the gallery. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Jesse Ventura got out of the conspiracy theory show, but his son is still doing a show called The Hawk, I think it is.
I haven't seen anything from Jesse Ventura's son. In fact, I hadn't seen a lot from Ventura in quite a while.
No. And my internet's down.
Well, I can still hear you.
Yeah, well, Skype's doing fine. It's just the studio went down. All right. Tell me to refresh. Okay, so in Beaverton, Oregon, January 13th of this year, witness
Okay, so it looks like you've got a a new segment started. So everybody in the chat room, go to the new one.
Yeah, tell them to refresh. So in Richland, the wife is an abductee, was tormented by what she describes as foreign thoughts being implanted into her head. This led to her suicide last May. And the husband found an image on her laptop after her passing. All right, you know what, Corey? Tell him to go ahead and wrap it up. It's just gonna do this all night long.
Okay.